America. The price of a gallon of gas now is $3.98 per gallon. 60% of Americans say that $4 a gallon is the tipping point. We're 2 cents away. But has anybody asked the tipping point of what? Of what? Your life changes what happens to the country. The dollar is continuing to fall, and it is falling in a dramatic fashion. It's at a 3-year low. If you've been watching this program and you didn't dismiss me as a conspiracy freak, you knew this was coming, and here it is. It has been falling so dramatically that now the home of the peso, think of this, Mexico, is now buying 100 tons of gold. They say they need to get out of the dollar a little bit. Mexico, how many pesos does it take to buy 100 tons of gold? Also in the news today, Fatah and Hamas have brokered a deal. They become allies against Israel. And the deal? Brokered by our new revolutionary teenage friends in Egypt. And with Osama bin Laden, nobody's even talking about the expiration of the debt ceiling next week. Or, my favorite, the $200 billion in emergency funds that Timothy Geithner just kind of found. Where did I leave that $200 billion? Some slush fund, $200 billion. He tapped that to help us along the way. And then also he found some accounting tricks to tide us over until next week. By the way, that $200 billion, we've already spent it. When did he find it? Last week? The president also has declared now that he's made his decision. He's not going to release those pictures of UBL. Oh, okay. And by the way, an Arabic news agency is reporting now today that a senior Pakistani intelligence official said that one of Osama bin Laden's daughters has seen her father being shot dead by U.S. forces. She claims he was captured alive and then executed within the first few minutes of the operation. Who do you believe anymore? What do you believe anymore? Don't you see? The photos and the president's trip to, which I think is obscene, to Ground Zero, is a distraction from the real issues. I don't care what anybody says. This is not about poll numbers. This is misdirection. We could talk about the photos, whether we release them or not, and all the details. We could talk about it all day, and most of America is. But in my heart, I have to tell you, we have to get off of that. There is a more important agenda. And it is time we reset the conversation and the whole direction of anybody who has been concerned. It's time to start moving forward. I used to say on this program, watch the other hand. They're doing this, but what are they doing here? I can guarantee you, while we're focusing on Osama bin Laden and the pictures, oh, they're doing other things here. But I think it's about time we turn the tables. It's about time that they start worrying about watching our hands. Because it's about time that we put our hands to work in a creative way. March 2009. It marked the beginning of the 9/12 Project. I had the idea and I gave it to you and you took it and ran with it. Well, let me ask you, what has it become? What have you done? A lot. The 9/12 Project is each person made of it. It's kind of like life. So what is it that you have made? My guess is that if you made it about politics and protest, your groups now are starting to dwindle and struggle. It may have even struggled with power wars that's happening in tea parties and everything else. Many, no doubt, have been swallowed up by tea parties, which many of those have been swallowed up now by GOP operatives, and people are starting to question. Well, now that the congressional election is over and the Tea Party has accomplished what they set out to do, what has changed? The GOP still struggles to find a man or a woman to match the times. I mean, who are you going to vote for? Who are you excited about? Donald Trump? Got to find somebody that matches the times. But the parties continue to dismiss or destroy anyone who can truly lead in a different direction. Meanwhile, the countdown clock of our destruction continues to tick dollar by dollar, right by right, and lie after lie. The media They still refuse to admit that the spontaneous revolutions brought on by the youth of the Middle East were no such thing. The democratic revolutions always end the same way, as ours almost did 225 years ago. They end in chaos or a tyrant with a different face. The Middle East, mark my words, is headed towards a united union of sorts. It will be a caliphate, one that is defined by extremism, misery, and death, the likes of which the world hasn't seen perhaps in centuries. As new leaders, strong enough to control the situation, rise, so will the brutality. Honest liberals will admit this, as this was their argument against the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. The world will be far too familiar with the chant, "This is what democracy looks like," only then to wake up from the stupor of denial and remember, as with all things, democracy is what you make of it. What are they going to make of it? Iran, remember, is a democratic state. They stone homosexuals, victims of rape they kill, and all those who speak against that brutality. We, on the other hand, in America, are not, nor have we ever been, a democracy. But most don't even know that anymore. And that's why the world is about to change. And those who are the best organized as the battle begins will find themselves in power. For better or for worse, the campaign promise that President Obama will keep is the fundamental transformation of America. He also promised something else, and it will be fulfilled. The transformation of the entire world. It's happening. Our dollar is collapsing. Jobs are becoming more and more scarce. Corruption is being institutionalized. Our faith is being rotted from the inside. Our children are being indoctrinated into the world of Marxism. Our nation's unions are becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish from the brown shirts or the communist thugs of the last century. And our president is using our military as a personal hit squad. And I'm not talking about UBL. I'm talking about the targeting and trying of killing Gaddafi and his children the same weekend we killed UBL. America, nothing is happening by chance. And those who thrive off chaos, or who will just never let a good crisis go to waste, have studied revolutions their whole lives. This is well thought out. All of the money literally in the world is up for grabs. And a warning to those who think they are going to be a part of the new structure of power. Warning, you will find yourself in the end betrayed by global thieves. The structure and the money fueling this revolution is not coming from the people. It's coming from the uber rich. I'm talking about the uber rich. And the giant global corporations, the same ones that the anarchists and progressive youth are being taught to despise. The leaders of this death cult used to say, "Oh, don't trust anyone over 30, man." Well, maybe we should point that slogan out to the new followers. Yet, with all of the clear, obvious signs of institutional death of America, or transformation, most Americans are either sleeping in self-imposed ignorance or have chosen to believe the lie that they can save themselves or their pension or their job by embracing the agents of change and revolution. What they refuse to admit is that the only change from the last administration is a matter of speed and boldness. They are not fighting for the people or the nation's best interest in Washington. Some are, many are not. The facts are that Bush started TARP, but in the last 2 years, has that gone away? In the last 2 years, everybody was fighting with George Bush. He's in bed with big business. Has big business lost its grip in Washington? It hasn't. It has tightened it. It has been entrenched and rewarded. GE pays no tax despite record earnings. GM is leeching the worker. and should be the poster child of corporate welfare while it introduces the new green Chevy Volt. What a sham. The only thing green are the Treasury notes that are going to the unions and the kickbacks now going again to General Electric. Wall Street and the large corporate banks are more powerful and more wealthy, as they are the real recipients of the trillions of dollars currently being printed by our Treasury. Through the actions of Washington and the Fed, the biggest of all corporations, the Fed, the only group losing power is the worker. The people are being impoverished. They are losing the value of their homes, 401ks, and most of all, the people are being impoverished in voice. Boy, does it sound like a Marxist dream? What, the monologue I'm giving? No. It is a libertarian dream. Set yourself free. America, it is time to choose sides. And there are only two choices in the end. One, loss of liberties for security. Be it financial or physical. I don't want to lose my pension. I don't want to lose it. You will give your liberty away to save something. That's choice one. Choice two, loss of financial and possible physical security for liberty. Which will it be? Now, the vast majority of Americans will see this as an obvious choice. The answer has already been given by the people over and over and over again. They choose one. For your safety, for the children, for the auto workers, for the financial institutions, we've got to avoid another Great Depression, another fuel shortage. Bit by bit, we have answered this question. And we have invested more and more in the agents of change, which are the agents of destruction. For most, the first option will require no more work, and that's why they like it. They're either tired or lazy. And you don't have to think about it anymore. They'll do it. Just let them handle it. That's what I voted for. I gave them my vote and my contribution. It's a continuation of George W. Bush's 9/11 solution. Just go shopping. All people are required is that they go shopping. And that you continue to fight the same tired battle. You know, the one that ends with anybody who disagrees with your side are bigots or racists or just mindless shills for the corporations. These corporations, really? I'm standing against those giant corporations. How can I be a mindless shill for them? Now, for those who answered number two, this is when the real work begins. Because you're going to ask yourself, now it's pretty easy to be for liberty. But when money is tight and you're losing your job and you're friendless, why is liberty worth suffering for? How can there possibly be personal freedom without financial freedom? Are the poor truly free? What is freedom? Do I really want it if responsibility is also required? What does my life look like if I choose liberty, real liberty? And how can I possibly convince my spouse or my friends that this is the right choice? These are the same questions every great movement has struggled with every time. The answers have to be found by each of us as an individual, and then deeply rooted and planted here by people who have searched their hearts and then joined their hands. These answers are not going to come from Washington. I mean, have you heard their choice already? It's one. I mean, if you believe their answer is no, liberty, really? Have they talked to you or preached about preparedness and self-reliance? How can you have liberty if they don't say prepare to you? Have they talked about those things, or have they just been a part of the nominal spending cuts, the birth certificate circus and regulation? Who is standing there to slash the vines growing around the legs and the throats of the average person that built this country? Political, 9/12, and Tea Party groups. You have played a historic role, and you will continue to be a powerful, powerful force of freedom.